What's up everybody? Mike the CPA here of Money and Life TV, the channel for learning about finances, investing, taxes, and more. I hope this video finds you well despite the events that the world and all of us are facing today. I'm producing this video to share some quick tax updates with you that I think everybody should be aware of. All right, you guys wanted to talk about this tax stimulus, and I actually had this video done, except the news is changing so rapidly around this topic that I actually had to go back and reshoot this and just add some additional details in. Currently, what we thought was going to pass is now blocked, and it's still in negotiations between the Democrats and Republicans. You know, our politicians, about as useless as they can come. Honestly, they cannot agree on anything. It's absolutely ridiculous that a time when Americans are truly in need because of the current situation, and many would really benefit from the stimulus as they're laid off of work, as you need to pay utilities, put food on the table, whatever it may be. Of course, the politics are holding up aid to Americans on this. And I don't care whether you agree with this or disagree. It's just sickening to see what our politicians have become. They're absolutely useless. And as you can tell, I'm pretty frustrated with them. But what was initially going to happen is this is going to come through the form of a tax credit, I think is how it is initially proposed. And as soon as I have more details, and I think this will eventually pass to some degree, I don't know what it's going to turn into, but it was currently set to where individuals who would get up to $1,200, married couples up to $2,400 in tax stimulus. And if you had a child, it's $500 per child. And the income phase-out amounts were around $75,000 if you're file single, or up to $150,000 if you filed married, filing joint. A lot of it was based on your 2018 tax return is what they'd be looking at to determine how much of a stimulus you might receive. Now, the way I understand it, it's going to come through the form of a tax credit. Therefore, if you would owe no tax, then you may or may not receive much of any benefit. I don't know. They haven't laid out all the details, so we're still waiting to see. But currently, this tax stimulus is on hold. So let's just move on to the other parts of these tax updates that I think are more relevant at this point, and we'll stay on top of these tax stimulus updates as things continue to progress. As of March 20th of 2020, the IRS has finally decided to not only extend the filing date for our personal income tax returns, the 1040, to go from April 15th, now extended to July 15th, but the payment date as well. Which means, I guess they finally figured out that with everybody standing in line for hours and hours and hours waiting to get in Costco to spend all their money on toilet paper, people wouldn't have time to file their taxes nor pay them. Ironically though, I think if you're waiting in line 3 hours, I'm pretty sure most people could file their taxes in that time. And they would also have time to hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. During this 90-day time period that spans between April 15th and July 15th, there are going to be no additional interest or penalties accruing on any tax liability balance you will owe to the IRS for 2019. Of course, this does apply to most of the people across the nation, but if you're very rich and owe the IRS over $1 million, whether you're single or married filing joint, then that payment cannot be postponed for any amount that you owe over $1 million.
Gosh, if you owe over $1 million, can we be friends? Because you must be making a lot of money.
There's some other good news. Not only does this apply to taxes for 2019, but if you're a self-employed individual or somebody who's making a lot of money from additional income sources outside of your wages, like self-employment income, or you have a business, or you have a lot of investments, whatever it may be, for you, I have some good news for you, my friend, is that if you had an estimate payment coming up that was going to be due on April 15th of 2020, that payment can now be postponed as well without interest or penalties until July 15th. I appreciate all the questions you guys are throwing my way, and I'm getting a lot of questions from clients. This tax, the one we're talking about, the postponement, it really only applies to income taxes, okay? So don't think you can get out of doing, don't think you can delay your payroll taxes or sales taxes or, other kinds of taxes. It's really just income related taxes at the moment, and the first quarter estimate payment if you're an individual tax filer. In regards to this filing date postponement, I want to share with you guys it only applies to your personal tax return. It doesn't apply to other filing due dates such as corporations, partnerships, LLCs, nonprofit entities. As far as I know of, those, especially for nonprofits, which are normally due May 15th, as far as I know of, that is still the deadline for those entities until we hear otherwise. It's always funny that the IRS are notorious for doing this, and if you work as an accountant, you'll see it for yourself, is where you'll, as a CPA, I'm working like 55, 60 hours a week right now since January. I've been working those hours and still continue to work those hours, even despite this craziness that's going on in our world. And they wait until after that 3/15 deadline because they want us working hard. They want us thinking that this deadline is not going to be extended because they want their corporate tax payments sent to them as soon as possible. So that after 3/15, that is when we started seeing announcements that the personal tax returns might start being postponed, which was really interesting. But the IRS does this quite often. It's kind of like having a boss who slave drives you to get something done, and then after it's done, they say, well, you know, you didn't really need to work so hard. Speaking of corporations, there's a couple other things that you should know. So corporations, if they owe a balance for the 2019 tax year, they can defer payment of that balance for up to $10 million until July 15th. The one disadvantage here for corporations is that they cannot postpone that first estimate payment if they have an estimate payment due come 4/15. That is when they're going to have to make that payment, or they will face penalties and interest. Okay, what does this mean for all of you? I know a lot of you are out there, you're still working your normal hours. Some of you have been asked to stay away from work and just stay at home. Whatever the case may be, there are still reasons you still might want to file your return by 4/15. The first reason is if you expect a refund. Now, if you got money headed your way, well then by all means, you know, this is a really tight time we're living in, and I don't know how important it's going to be for you to have extra cash. So if you can get your return filed by 4/15 or as soon as you can, then I would recommend it, especially if you have money coming to you. Make sure you're set up for direct deposit because that's going to allow you to get your refund the fastest and most secure way. As during 4/15, a lot of times people are going around knocking over mailboxes to steal refund checks out of there, which is why I always recommend direct deposit for people because it's more secure and it's faster to receive your refund. And of course, during this time period, you can imagine that the IRS are freaking out about this whole thing too. They don't want to get exposed to it. And so your refund might be delayed. So the sooner you get your return filed though, the sooner you're going to get your refund. Okay, now let's talk about extensions. Right now, automatically, you're going to have until July 15th to file that return. However, if you know that you might still not have your information ready, then I would suggest filing an extension by or before April 15th. Because that's going to give you all the way until October 15th to get your taxes in order. And if you don't extend by 4/15, I don't know if that extension is going to be valid. I don't know. It may or may not be. So I would recommend you extend now or by 4/15 if you want an extension and you want that additional time to file by October 15th. I mean, shoot, you might get so caught up in playing the newest video games that are dropping or watching these movies on Hulu while self-isolating that you might forget that you still need to do your taxes. So an extension might be good for you. Another reason to file by 4/15 is if you're worried about getting audited. Now, some people have a very complicated tax situation who are more prone to audits. And if you feel that like that's you, then what I would suggest for you is file your tax return as soon as you can, whether it's 4/15, whether it's earlier than that, whether it's anytime before July 15th. The audit period for IRS in terms of the statutory period in which they can go back and audit your return starts at the date you file or the due date. So if you file sooner than that, then the statute starts at that point. And you're going to be probably less likely to get selected for audit the sooner you file versus waiting all the way to the due date. Now, what's going on with your state? Well, from what I've seen, most states are basically cohering to whatever the federal mandate is right now for these tax filing due dates. I haven't heard of any state at the moment that is not mirroring or matching federal, but make sure you're checking your state tax agency website and making sure that that is the plan, that they are going to follow the Fed rules. And some of you have been asking me some other good questions about, like, what about the Roth contributions or the IRA contributions? Well, if that is something you're concerned about, then I would encourage you to make those payments by or before April 15th, by the original tax filing due date. Because the IRS, you know what they're so good at, guys? What they're so good at? They're like a friend or a boss who tries to give you information. They give you some information, but they don't give you enough information to really know for sure what you're doing. Only bits and pieces. Well, that's how the IRS is. They give you bits and pieces of what's going on, but they don't give you clarification in some other areas that would be really nice to know. As a safety measure, I would make sure you're, for 2019 Roth contributions, to make sure they're in that account, put the money in by April 15th or before April 15th. I wouldn't expect to be able to do that and postpone that until July 15th. At least not that I've read yet. If you've heard differently, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna be leaving a lot of links in the description section of this video. I have a video of how to extend your tax return. I have videos of how to make estimate payments. I have all that. I'll link those down below. Look in the description section. I'm probably gonna paste it in that comment section as well so you can find it more easily. And I'm also gonna paste the article links to the different resources you can look at and read about these new bills that have passed. There's also another bill that the House passed. It's called HR 6201. I would say the name on camera, but I don't want this video to get demonetized. But it's the Families First, the name of the thing that's going around right now, Response Act. That is what you'll find. So you can search on Google, but I will leave a link to that article below. There's all sorts of other provisions in there, stimulus packages for, I think for WIC, for employers to allow their employees to have more sick leave or get tax credits if they provide their employees sick leave during this time period, and all these other things that you should be aware of and check out for yourself. So I'll leave those links below. As most of you know, I still work full-time as a CPA. I'm still working 55 hours a week roughly, and still trying to get as many tax returns filed as I can by 4/15. And so as these updates are coming out, I often hear about them, but I often cannot keep up with them as fast as they are dropping. In fact, it's not like the CPAs have some magical hidden news site that we can learn all about this stuff. Usually the media outlets get it first, and then from the media, that's when we know to start digging into certain resources to try to find what's happening. You guys have been asking me a lot of great questions over YouTube. I've been getting a lot of questions from clients regarding this stuff. But like I said, I'm still working through a mountain of tax returns, and I cannot often take the time to look at the newest updates while I'm still working through the 2019 taxes. So I'm just trying to keep up with it as all of you are. Picture it this way. It's kind of like you working full-time or busy with your day job. Then one of your friends calls you, a friend who is not currently working or only working part-time or not working at all, and they're calling you up and they're saying, Mike, have you heard about the new Resident Evil 3 demo that just dropped? Have you had time to play it? I would love to get your thoughts on it. Can you tell me all about the game? And you're like, whoa, you're like, dude, I'm still working away. Why don't you tell me about the game since you have the time to do it? So I'm still learning this as it comes out, guys, and I will keep posting updates, especially critical updates, as I feel necessary regarding these new provisions. I think we're going to see a lot more updates going forward, especially as we approach July 15th. Hopefully everything is more under control by that point and we can start to stabilize. People don't have to freak out about groceries or anything else. We can get our taxes done and somehow, some way, start to go back to a more normal life. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for watching this short video. I really appreciate your time. If you want to support the work I do, you can do so by clicking the like button. Just be sure you're subscribed to the channel, because I'll have new videos coming out, especially on taxes, investing, and so on and so forth. So be sure you're subscribed for that. But the best thing you guys can do, honestly, is just share this information with others and get this information out there to your friends, your family members regarding these tax updates. All the links, all the articles will be in the description and comment section below, including links of how to extend your tax return, how to make estimate payments, and so on and so forth. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive, live life uncaged while being isolated at the moment. And take care, guys. I will see you in the next video. Love y'all. Peace.